when you see men staring at you on the street if you're stopped at lights, you can almost see them looking over the car first as if, oh, nice car. And then they'll sort of look at you, you know, like when you're in a bar and you notice men looking at the women in the bar and forming an opinion. It is flattering because you've been noticed. And then the lights change, the moment's lost, and you move on.
Leroy is the name of this car. I called him that because his registration spells actually Elroy, but I preferred the name Leroy, so that's what he's called. Not really because he's a black car. I think maybe subconsciously there was something in that, but that wasn't really the main reason. He's a Ford Capri 1.6 LS. I don't know what that stands for. His image, I suppose, is, well, they've always been a bit anarchistic, Ford Capris. People either love them or hate them. He's a bit rebellious. He looks like he's been in the wars a bit. He's got a lot of character, I think. At the moment, the speedo doesn't work in Leroy, the horn doesn't work, the reverse lights don't work, the music system isn't working very well, the windscreen washers don't work. In fact, not a lot does work really. But I do forgive Leroy. I mean, he's an old car and I'm a pretty lousy mother. When I first took Leroy to meet the folks, my mother's not into cars at all. She was just really relieved that I'd finally got out of motorbikes. But my father was totally disgusted. He basically said, what a ridiculous car, why can't you get a sensible car like a Metro, and black of all colours, which was pretty ironic because he's actually the most racist person I know, and it would have been even worse if he'd known that at the time I had a black boyfriend. I always hope that people don't think of me as an Essex girl, quote, when they see me in this car. And that's no disrespect to Essex girls, but I don't have fairy dice for a start. I like to think they probably think, oh, there's a woman that enjoys driving, because I think Capris are really for car owners who like driving. And maybe they think of me as someone that's, I don't know, a bit on the wild side. Yeah, I quite like that image, I guess. I don't drive in shoes. I usually drive barefoot or occasionally with socks on. I feel much more in control barefoot and always have done. It feels like I'm really connecting with Leroy. And also, most of my shoes have really big platforms, so I'm much better off barefoot anyway. I get a certain sense of power and control in Leroy that I perhaps don't get in other areas of my life, like work, for example. And a lot of excitement too. I'm someone that actually does thrive in a lot of danger and excitement. I like living on the edge. Having a fast car that gives you that sense of power and excitement was quite important to me. And I'm always late for everything, so I definitely needed something that was going to get me from A to B as fast as possible. Life's too short and I'm always in a rush. Beep beep. I don't actually think that Leroy and I are probably cut out for a long-term relationship. I think probably he's destined to be a very happy memory, like one's first boyfriend. You never forget them. Their memory remains with you forever, and you mourn for them when they're gone.
The image this car conveys is that of just a quiet woman driver, really. Therefore that is the image I convey with the car, but that's not the image I have of myself at all. I mean, obviously I'd much rather have a faster car, but I can't have a faster car at this moment in time. But I mean, this car doesn't really have an image. It doesn't really have a personality, which is why I've never got about to naming it or anything. In fact, I wouldn't really name my car anyhow, because I think it's slightly naff really to name your car. A few years ago I had a job where I was given a company car. And it was a Golf GTI, a red Golf GTI. And to be honest, it was my dream car. I just loved it. I loved it to death. There's nothing more exhilarating than getting on the motorway and straight down that fast lane. However, I had to change my car due to change of job. And I thought, I've had so much trouble with my Golf because it's such a temptation to speed. And as I've already got 6 points on my licence, I thought I'm going to have to get a slow car. So when I went to the garage to buy my new car, I went with 2 criteria. One, I wanted a very slow car, and 2, I wanted a car that no one else would be tempted to steal. So I went to the garage and I explained this to the salesman, and he said to me, "Step this way, madam, have you ever considered a Fiesta?" Drive around in the Golf, I got a lot of attention as a young girl in a red Golf GTI would, obviously. And when I sort of came down to the basic Fiesta, I noticed that I got a lot less attention. I mean, it might have been that I was looking for less attention, but I certainly got a lot less. And this is typified by the fact that when I had the Golf, I was always getting my windscreens cleaned by the people in the street. But in my Fiesta, I never ever get it cleaned. Driving really is quite boring, especially in a boring car. So if I pulled out to traffic light and saw someone quite nice looking next to me, I guess I would flirt slightly, because it just spices up the mundane business of driving. Plus, I know that even if I make a complete fool of myself and he thinks, who is that girl, I'm never going to see him again. So it's hardly going to matter what he thinks. And just for my own mild self-interest, I guess I'd do it. Some women like to have a girly image. They like to put in their fluffy animals and their rabbits and hammocks at the back of their car, so they have a sort of come and look after me type image. Whereas I want to project a feminine image, but not a girly image. I want to seem an independent sort of woman that's out in her car, who knows what she's going to do, she's not scared of anyone, and she's not going to put up any sort of fluffy type creature or animal in her car, so that men think, ah, how sweet. Because one thing that I'm not, I hope, is sweet. I do have my little ginger cat potpourri, but nothing much else. I did actually put in a digital clock here because there was a gap, but one day a friend of mine was trying to alter the clock, pushed it in, and it disappeared into oblivion. I've never found it again, so I've just got a little hole there. If I had loads and loads of money and I could buy any car I wanted, I wouldn't go for your classic hideous Porsche or anything like that. I'd go for a much more subtle type of car, a Volkswagen Corrada, or perhaps one of the Mazda range, an MR2 or an MX-5, something like that. They are gaining more popularity though, so I might be put off.
As a woman driving this car, it makes me feel very, very special, very powerful, in the same way that a man might drive his XJS or his Ferrari, maybe on a lesser scale car-wise, but the feeling is exactly the same. Makes you feel as though you just want to hold your head up high and make people look and say, isn't this great? You need to be dressed up to wear this sort of car. You wouldn't really go out in a tracksuit and a pair of wellies or anything. It's a car that needs to be shown off to its best advantage, which is why I think it's very much a woman's car. If I'm driving this and I'm going out for the evening, then I like to dress up, because at some stage I might be going somewhere really nice where I want to give the doorman the car and say, please take care of the car for me. And also, if people are going to look at you when you're driving, well, you really ought to live up to the part. What I do for a living during the day is to work with plants and flowers in various places all over London, so that means I drive a van, and it's not a new van, it's 4 or 5 years old, so it's a pretty beat up, typical London dirty van. And when I'm driving that, no one pays me any attention whatsoever, but what does happen is that people on the road are far more polite. They're very well mannered when it comes to driving. They will let a lady out onto a main road. Taxis and buses will give way on a main roundabout. And it's just a very pleasant experience. When you get in the car, it's a different ball game altogether. People look, even with the roof up they look. You attract a lot of attention, and you also attract the boy racers, who seem to think you're fair game. They no longer allow you to come out of turnings, and they want to race you off at the traffic lights. And I also get the feeling if I broke down in the car, I would have a problem. I would have to ring the RAC. Whereas in the van, if I was causing any problems and broke down, there would be a host of people there willing to help me. I didn't originally buy the car for its pulling power because I wasn't aware of its pulling power. I bought it as a sports car. And it was only when I began to drive it around town with the roof off and driving along roads with bars and pubs and things in that I began to realise quite how potent it was for pulling members of the opposite sex. Women usually talk about what sort of car the guy drives that you've just met. And I think now the reverse is beginning to happen, that the men are talking about, well, I met so-and-so last night and, you know, she drives an MX-5. There's one particular individual I know that I went up to Tring to meet him on a beautiful sunny Sunday, and we were going for a picnic. And we'd arranged to meet in the high street, and he was... enthusiastic isn't quite the word for it. He didn't stop smiling for most of the afternoon, because he said he'd never had a woman drive up and pick him up in a car like this before. He's now most insistent that if we're going out in the evening that I have to drive over to the city and pick him up because he doesn't want to drive. Are specifically interested in the car. They assume that whoever's driving the car is perhaps earning a lot of money at work or is being paid a lot of alimony from a divorce. And the car is exhibiting the fact that here is someone with money. And they just hang on to that straight away. And I often wonder, well, would they talk to me if I was driving a metro? And the answer is definitely no, they wouldn't. Some time ago last year, I had a toy boy around for a while and used to love sitting him in the front seat of the car because he was the ultimate accessory. But he wasn't allowed to say anything, just in case he spoilt the effect. Friends thought this was very amusing, and I think most of them were incredibly jealous. Men have been doing it for years, so come on girls, let's level the score a little.
I suppose the image that I like to project to other people is that one of a businessy image. And by going out, getting dressed up, going out in the car, it makes you feel that perhaps you're a little bit more important than just being a mum at home.
Sometimes I can see people whispering or, commenting, oh, well, it's only our hubby's car. That really annoys me.
I do feel that women drivers are not as generous as men drivers. They tend not to let you out into the traffic or don't really think ahead as much as perhaps a man driver does. It's just my experience.
sometimes they're getting embarrassed, like if you pull up at the lights and there's a whole bunch of blokes in the car and they're all looking at you and they're all laughing and you think, quick lights, please just change, I want to go.
I bought this car because it was the ultimate dream. I'd always pass this car showroom every day on my way to work, and they sold purely BMWs, convertibles and what have you. And I never really stopped in there because I used to see all these guys standing up outside there, and I felt a bit intimidated by what they might try and sell me and what jargon they'd use. So one day I was going past with a friend of mine who coerced me into going in. And then when I went in there, I saw this beautiful baby. And I thought, well, the price is right, the colour is right. And I thought, well, what else is there? 3 days later, he said to me I could come back and drive off with the car. I thought the colour was good because, I mean, I've never really liked a red car. And I don't really like any other colour in a BMW, just doesn't look right. So when I saw this one, black to me meant power, it meant class, and it was in a league of its own. Funny because when I went into the shop and I was buying this one, I said to the man, you know, I'm a single parent, I want to come out in the morning knee deep in snow and I want to be able to turn over the car and it starts. So he assured me and reassured me that the car that I was buying was in good condition. I've got two nice cuddlies in the back of the car and the occasional toy that Dana brings in, but my cuddlies are mine. And when my friend was with me, we went to pick up the BMW when I was trading in the Fiesta. I was about to remove my two little toys and put them in here, and she almost shrieked in horror the fact that I was going to put two cuddly toys in a BMW. But to me, they symbolise it's a feminine touch, you know. This is a woman's car and this is my car, and they go where I go. And plus they were presents anyway, so I couldn't put them in the bedroom. No one would see them then. This is my air freshener, believe it or not. Some people think it's an alarm, and it's got 3 smells on it. It's got the apple, citrus, and peppermint, and it looks quite good. It's an improvement on the Magic Tree. Some of my friends may think I'm a bit of a snob, but this car is going to get me places. And it's going to get me in the places that I need to get into. So I'm happy. I can get into a wine bar in Hampstead. I can also get into a restaurant in Mayfair. And a pub in Hackney. The best thing about being in this car is being able to flirt, and flirt good, because you've got the car to back you up. I know when they see who's in the car, when I look the business, you know, I'm going to turn heads anyway. But I like to have a good nose round and flirt with my eyelids and with my mirror. I can use my wing mirror and my interior mirror to have a look and see who's looking at me. Now that I've got this car, I think the only thing that's missing is having a man by my side. But, I mean, for me to have a man now, he would be like an accessory, so to speak. But, I mean, it was really difficult before, because when I used to have, it was either a Nova or the Fiesta, and I was going out with this guy, I more or less had to ask permission to drive my own car. Well, that's not going to happen again, you know, I'm in control here. And for me to have a bloke by my side, he's going to be in the passenger seat, and I'm going to be driving, so that control is set at the outset.
I have an image, and my image is the glamorous blonde, the posy blonde. So the car is a posy car. It's my space, it is my car, and I love the feeling of the power that it gives me. It's a big turn on. I just like speed. I like the look on people's faces as I pull away, and they're shocked because this timid little woman that sits behind the wheel actually has got a lot of bottle. And that's a good word, bottle. I used to be a model, and so I got a lot of attention when I was a model, but I've been retired a few years now. The thing is, when I'm driving my car, I get the same attention, but you see, I'm no spring chicken, but they don't know that. All they can see is this glamorous woman behind the wheel. And also, it's fun, because I can get away and put my foot down without being approached. You can look, but you can't touch. Same thing you get when you're behind a camera. They can see you, okay, on picture and on film, but they can't touch. So again, you're a fantasy. You're probably somebody else's fantasy, and it's fun. It's a good laugh. It's a turn on. It's just a turn on. I find that other women on the road react to me in a nasty sort of hostile sort of way. They won't let me pass. They don't give way to me, even though I do them, and they never sort of say thank you. They try and cut me up when I'm trying to overtake them. It's a shame, really, because to them, I mean, I'm no threat to them, but for some reason or other, I find that they're jealous, but this hate comes across, which is a shame. I work out in a gym. I find there is two sorts of people that work in the gym, or work out in the gym, I should say. There is the men and the women. Now, the men, their reactions are like, I wouldn't mind some of that. And when the women, it's jealousy. Like, there was a story where there was a girl at my gym who was going out with a guy at my gym. Now, she'd never met me, but she'd been asking questions about me, and she'd asked a friend of mine if I was a threat to her, and because of the way I looked. I wouldn't dream of taking their boyfriends away, but again, it's this image that comes across. I get up to the traffic lights, that's one of my favourite places. I always look at the person who's next to me, sort of psych them out a little bit. You look and you smile, and then because I think to yourself, I was only a woman, I'll get away first. Now they don't know that I'll put my foot down, they will think, well, it's a woman driver, but I always get away first, and when I do, it's a big turn on. I love the feeling of power. It's like an orgasm. It's just brilliant. There's days where I've had bad days and train hasn't gone well. Oh, there's been trouble at home, so I just put my foot down and go for it. I'd like to actually end my life in my car. It sounds morbid, but that's the way I'd like to go. A comedian likes to go laughing. Bing Crosby died on the golf course. I want to go in my car, just like that. The way I see it is if you've got it, flaunt it. But unfortunately, I haven't got it.
Men stare at me and think, what's she doing in that? It's almost as if you shouldn't be there.
Oh, if I've got a bloke looking at me, I'll turn round, and if he looks, then I'll have a second look, and when if he looks back again, I think, well, I can't be that ugly after all.
I think that the best part of me are my legs. And obviously when I'm in the car, people can't see that. But I do like them to stare from time to time.
When I first bought the car, I couldn't wait to catch a glimpse of myself in the reflection of a shop window. It's a really embarrassing thing to admit, but I really, really enjoyed seeing myself in the car.
get a lot of attention in this sort of car, especially your middle-aged, fat, balding men who think they're wonderful, and they look at you and they think that you should be so flattered that they're eyeing you up. And as far as I'm concerned, thank you, but no thank you.
It is a posy car, I suppose. People do tend to notice you in it. But when they see that I'm not a dolly bird, then they don't bother to look anymore.
When I'm driving this car, I definitely feel younger than my age. You get far more attention from the public. Pedestrians as well as drivers, they tend to notice the car and they look at you, and it makes you feel noticed. It makes you feel not just an anonymous person. I've actually got two cars at the moment, a Space Cruiser, which is one of these sort of 7 to 9 seater things, and of course this car. And driving the two cars is two totally different experiences. I feel if I get into this car to go driving, I feel 10 years younger, a bit of a dolly bird. If I get into the Space Cruiser, I feel 10 years older straight away. And I feel very mumsy. This is the usual thing where women just come out. She hasn't even looked at us this way, but just pull out and hope for the best. I feel very mumsy, and I feel that other people think that you're sort of going to open the door and there's going to be 16 kids going to spill out of it. I feel 10 years older when I'm driving the Space Cruiser. It doesn't go with my image, I think. If I go out with any of my mates for a night out, if we go for a drink or something, I'll take this car and I'll take the baby seat out the back because that's bad for the image. It works the other way as well. I think if you see, sometimes you can see a fella driving along and you think, oh, he's nice, and you start thinking about what's he do, all different questions come into mind about what sort of person he is, and then start drifting off into a dream about him, and then clock the baby seat in the back and it's like zilch, squats the dream. There's probably only 3 things about me that people have always commented on, and that's my eyes, my hair and my boobs. So I'm quite confident about those 3 parts of my body, but as for the rest of it, it's like a misfit. Like bottom half doesn't go with me at all. And I suppose the car is really like a fancy dress masquerade bit round the bottom, because people can't see that part of me. So I drive along knowing that top half of me is seen with more confidence than if I was walking along the road without my armour on. I think of this car as like a little time capsule, because if I've had an argument or anything like that, or I'm a bit het up from things that have happened during the day, I can just jump in and be by myself and just alone, and it's my own little private place away from everything and everybody. It's like a little hideaway place, really.
In the last few years, my husband and I have separated, And during that time I usually drove a sensible, practical family car. And I used to drive a Metro, a white Metro. I had lots of problems with it. I went to the Metro showrooms. I went in and thought, this gentleman will give me all the information. And he said to me, he said, well, have you thought about a Mini Cooper? I said, don't be ridiculous, I can't drive a Mini Cooper at my age. It's far too flash and fast and, oh no, it's something you drive when you're young. And the more and more I thought about it, the more I decided, why not? It's my money, my choice. I couldn't believe it. I felt really excited actually, having to buy my own new car. And also Mini Cooper represented something really fast and zippy and, oh, I don't know, youth, I suppose. Most of my life, and it's nobody's fault at all, it's just the way I was brought up. The type of school I went to I suppose quite a strict convent school, 15 years, and the type of life I've led, sort of being married and since the age of 23 and having 2 children. I suppose I've led a typical conformist sort of life and driven that type of car, but suddenly by the Mini Cooper, I wasn't a convent girl anymore, I'm an ex-convent girl. I am part of a family, but a completely different sort of family. I don't actually have to conform anymore. I don't have to buy that sort of car. I've been driving, I've been either going out with my husband or I've been married. And the thing is, it's the first time I've driven a brand new car that I bought, a car that I wanted, a fast puppy car, and I was single. So it's like, it's not as though it's happening for the second or the third time, it's the first time in my life I feel like this. And it's quite, it's frightening, it's daunting, it's quite exciting, but still a bit frightening. Well, I don't ever remember being looked at all in the white Metro. And yet, when I had this car, and if people ever did look at me when I was in this car, I thought, oh, they're obviously thinking, God, what's an old woman like her doing, driving a car like that? How pathetic. But if they did look at me, it felt quite strange. I mean, to have pulling power at my age is quite strange. My teenage time in the 20s was obviously through the 60s. And the Mini then was in its heyday, and I mean, there's no way could I have afforded a brand new Mini in the 60s. I still conformed, I was at college, I was doing the right things, I was doing all that was expected of me, I suppose. I certainly did not feel free and relaxed, and the swinging 60s did completely went past me. Now with my car, really, it's a place I can, well, 2 things really. First of all, I'm away from everything. I'm away from my home, my flats, my children, my telephone. I love them all dearly, but it sometimes I feel as though you've given an awful lot, like a lot of people do. I'm no different from thousands of other people. You've given an awful lot. And you're very rarely sort of given something for yourself somehow. And yet in the car and nobody can touch you or get near you, no telephones can get near you, the children can't. You make sure everybody's alright before you do anything. But it means you cocooned you away from things, and you can just think about things and have music blasting out, and you can just go along routes you want to go on. sometimes I must admit it's very tempting to just keep on going. I suddenly look forward now, rather than thinking I'm 45, that's it, everything's finished. And Doncaster is not the place to do it. It's to be married, to be safe, and you fit in. I don't fit in anymore.
More tales of modern motoring earlier next week at 10 to midnight. But next tonight on BBC4, Richard Wilson motors through Snowdonia for Britain's best drives.